Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join real estate entrepreneur and mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome back to Construct Your Life. This is Austin Linney here, and I have Miss Lauran Fuller in the house. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Austin.
Thanks for coming on. So what I like to do is I just like to let my guests kind of start their story where they want to, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, of course. So I have been an entrepreneur for the past 9 years. Right out of college, I knew that I wanted to start a family, and I knew that I couldn't really pursue a normal career path and have children that I wanted to raise as well. So I went out and I decided to start my own business. I started a bakery, and I knew that if I did that, I could take my kids with me to work because I was the boss, right? That's what you get to do. So I started kind of constructing the life that I wanted to have. I started this business and it grew, and I've raised 3 children through it. And they've got to see kind of the back end of what it means to run a business. But as I was running my business, I realized I might not want to do this forever. And as an entrepreneur, like on one hand, you go, well, that's kind of scary. And on the other hand, you're like, but I have the freedom to do that. And so, as you grow and mature, you start realizing, well, maybe this isn't my life's passion. Maybe this isn't really what I want to do forever. And so just this last month, I actually closed my business after 9 years. And I have pursued teaching at the local university, which I enjoy. But really what it's given me the opportunity to do is to start following a new passion. And so what I've really found a passion for is like health and nutrition. And so I've been able to kind of dive into that. And now as my entrepreneur mind is working, I'm going, what's next? What do I get to start diving into next that actually is something I can be passionate about? Because the last few years of my venture, it was just kind of like, we're just kind of running through the motions because it's here and it's in place. But now it's kind of, well, I want to find something that I'm passionate about. I want to do something I enjoy doing every day. And not that I didn't enjoy baking, but my heart wasn't there anymore. And I really kind of dreaded going to work. And I don't think most people realize like that you have the capacity to choose what you do and to make sure that it's something that aligns with who you are and what you want to do in life. And that you're not stuck just because you're a certain age or because you've already invested so much time and money into an endeavor. My mom's that way. She's like, I'm too old for that. I'm like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
No, you're not. Like, you can always start over. I was like, at this point in time, like, if that's where you're called to be, then like, you should totally pursue that. So now I'm in this transition phase, which is super scary, but on the same hand, super exciting. And I know that I love showing people that you're not stuck in something just because you've invested a long period of time into it.
So that reminds me of a story. I have a client that I coached for a year, and when I met him, he had 3 businesses, and he had invested almost $250,000 in a software that I could tell you could drag this out, right? Because you put so much money into it. He talked kind of passionately about it, but as we got going on, I said, hey man, like, you're going to hate me, but I need you to kill that project. And he's like, dude, I've sunk $250,000. And I said, dude, I'm telling you, you're wasting your time. And he finally did it. And then 2 days later, he signed $1 million client, because his focus was back where it needed to be. But what's interesting about what you said, because I've done this as well too. A lot of people have a real hard time with respecting a season of their life, meaning I call it the absolute disease, right? This is the only place I'm supposed to be. This is the only person. This is the only job I'm supposed to do. And it's like, do you remember when you were a kid? Like, you liked a lot of different things. And so like, I love how you not that decision came easily, but I love how you're, excited for this new energy, this new adventure. Do you feel like your business shut down when it should have, or should it have shut down now that you sit here today, should have shut down earlier?
That's a hard one because I've known for about 3 years that I was done. And, looking back, it's like, yeah, I wish I would have done it 3 years ago. But when you're in a business, for me, it was almost kind of going, man, it's easier to just keep going than it is to go through the steps of closing, to have to liquidate, to have to figure out all my accounts and close everything that's tied to it and make sure that all my loose ends are tied. Like, that was so daunting to me that I would rather just keep doing what I was doing, even though I didn't like it, even though it was overwhelming. And so looking back, I'm like, yeah, I wish I would have cut it a lot sooner. But on the flip side, I know that kind of things have panned out the way they have for a reason. And I'm not sad that I've kind of let it run its course, I guess.
What was the hardest part for you in letting it go? Besides all the mundane stuff that obviously is not fun, but what was the hardest part for you?
I will say the hardest part was I really, really wanted to find a buyer to keep it going. And I couldn't find one because that just wasn't anybody else's passion. And at some point I told everybody, I said, listen, at some point there's an end date for me. Like, I could sit here for 6 months trying to find the right person, but I don't have it in me anymore. And so at some point in time, I just had to say, it's done. We're closing. There wasn't somebody that wanted to continue it, and that's okay. And the community was sad. They all were very sad to see it go. But I was just like, I have to do this for me, not for the community, because as an entrepreneur, yes, you owe something to your community, but at the end of the day, that doesn't mean you continue to hang on just for everybody else.
Because I've been in a similar situation. What was the day after you officially closed? What was that feeling when it's hard to describe, but it almost like a rebirth, but like an air just sucks back into yourself. Did you have that moment the next day?
I can't tell you how many people were like, are you so sad? And I was like, no, not at all. I've been anxiously awaiting this day for so long. They're like, was it weird to wake up and be like, oh my gosh, I don't have to go into work today? I was like, no, not at all. I slept like a baby.
And not to be weird, but I worked in the restaurant business for 20 years in high-end hotels. The bakers, they're a little off. They're always they always worked. They were always already there for hours before people got there. As soon as we got there, they left. You never really heard from them. I'm making a joke, but they were always like a different crew, It's bakery is morning, like a lot of early mornings.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. And I don't miss it that day. I was just like, that's it, you guys, I'm free. I'm not sitting here worrying about if people showed up to work. I'm not sitting here worried about whether we have enough product out. I was like, let's go play.
So then you go be a teacher. What are you teaching?
So I actually teach in the marketing and management department of our business school. I'm currently just wrapping up my dissertation in a doctorate in business administration. So I really enjoy the marketing side and of running a business. And so I have loved to be able to say, hey, let me focus on entrepreneurship and let me teach some of these kids coming up how to do it, because I've done it and I've made a lot of mistakes, and let me show you kind of the right way to go about doing this. So I'm teaching small business management, principles of marketing, just really diving into these students, trying to go, hey, chances are you're probably going to start your own business, because what most people don't realize is how many people end up doing their own thing and starting their own businesses. And when you talk to that roofer that comes to your house, or you talk to the painter that's doing your house, or you're talking to the local baker, those people all own their own businesses. And most of them have no idea what they're doing. And so I get to take kind of what I've learned and kind of reinvest it and go, hey, if you're going to do it, let's start from the right place. Let's not dilly-dally for a few years and flounder. Let's make sure that we're setting a good foundation for your business, because inevitably a lot of you are going to start in one, or at least work for somebody who is.
So this is an interesting kind of full circle moment, because we're actually the reason that we started our private equity group to buy businesses, holding company, et cetera, is to launch an entrepreneurship school taught by people that actually did business.
Yeah.
Instead of some random teacher, right? Because, there's 60 things you could do as a business owner, and, having somebody that's been through the chitches that could say, hey, hold on, slow down. The marketing is really two things, and it's branding and there's awareness. And so, having somebody that's seen it, done it, put it into real play. I mean, those students are so lucky to have you as a teacher.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Do you just, there's going to be a time and place when I do it, which is crazy because I dropped out of college 3 times. Everybody's like, you're going to be a great professor. And I'm like, that sounds terrible. Like school makes me like my skin crawl. But like, that's a different type of school. Like, do you find a lot of joy in like being a teacher and helping these people?
Yes, I mean, especially the generation coming up right now, like they're so green. You know what I mean? Like they have no idea whatsoever. And so to be able to go in and go, let me kind of just like give you a different perspective, or let's make sure that we're taking everything into account when we're making decisions is really gratifying. It helps me know that, maybe we're making a small difference in some of these up and coming business owners and young adults that are coming up, because if we're not investing in our future, then what are we doing? I mean, as a business owner, I saw the college students that I employed. I saw, the young adults, and you're just scratching your head going, is this really the pool of people that we're pulling from? And it is. So to know that I get to go in and at least help them critically think a little bit better makes me feel better.
And when in 9 years in your own business, people that are out there thinking about starting their own business, what was easier for you than you thought before you started your business?
I'm not gonna lie, starting a business was easy. Like everybody's like, oh, that's gotta be so hard. You had to, figure out your name, you had to incorporate, you had to do all these. And I'm like, no, like that's easy stuff. You can literally Google that stuff and figure it out. I was like, it's not hard to start it. I was like, what you don't realize is starting a business is like having a kid. Like people can tell you, oh, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be life-changing. You have no idea what's about to happen to you, but you don't know, you can't grasp what that is until you actually do it. And so, once you're a year in, then you start going, oh, I have to be here every day. Oh, if somebody doesn't show up to work, I have to cover their shift. Oh, if there's not enough money this month, it comes out of my paycheck. And that's when, the crap hits the fan and you start going, this is what it means to be a small business owner. And nobody could have ever prepared you for that. Nobody could have ever have completely explained that in a way that I would have gone, nah, I'm not doing that.
So I'm a student. I'm in your class and I have an idea for a business. What's your advice on where to start?
So obviously, like making your business plan is the most important. And one of my favorite projects to do with my kids this last semester was, I would say, okay, well, let's run the numbers. How much money do you want to make? And they were like, well, I want to be able to only work, 10 months a year, and I want to be able to travel for 2 months, and I need to probably make about $80,000, and I probably need to, and I'm going, okay, so you need to make how much money in 10 months, and then still have extra money to travel with those 2 months. And so how much of your product do you have to sell and how many employees are you going to have? And okay, let's think about this. Can you really make as much money as you think you're going to make doing what it is that you say you want to do? Like I had one girl, she was like, she's played on our tennis team, and she goes, I want to start a tennis, program where I coach tennis kids. And I said, okay. And she goes, but I want it to turn into this big thing where I have other coaches come in and I don't really do all the coaching. I have other people. Okay. So where are you going to base this, that you have enough, A, population of tennis students that can afford coaching, and B, you have enough of those that you can charge a premium for, that you can skim off the top and not work yourself, and you can travel? And how many of those lessons do you have to have every single week to skim off the top to make what you want to make? And she was like, I mean, I guess I can do it in this large metropolitan area. Surely there's enough students. I'm like, no. Like, I don't really think you understand. You might make about $30,000 doing that. And I'm like, which is not bad. You're profiting. I'm like, but are you going to be happy in 2 years when you realize, oh, I don't really get a lot of time off, and oh, I'm really only making half of what I want to make? It's like, this is where you have to stop and look at your business plan and run the numbers and go, what are my expectations? Because for me as a business owner, that's what got me. I went into it going, I don't care how much I make. I just want to be able to be a mother to my children and keep them with me. So anything I make is icing on top. And then after about 3 or 4 years, I started going, wait, I should probably be making some money. What are my expectations? And that's where a lot of entrepreneurs get in trouble, because what they don't realize is they don't set expectations. They don't really know how much money they need to make, and they don't know whether their venture can actually make that much money. And so that's where you have to be very careful, because you might have a good idea and it might not put you in the hole, but you might not make enough to really live on. And so that's where I have to stop them and go, okay, that's fine and dandy if you want to do that. But if your expectation is to make $80,000 a year, how are you going to structure this business to profit that much? And
Wow.
that's where they just start backpedaling and going, whoa.
Yeah. Well, like I'm 40. I've had many businesses on my own. I spent 20 years in hospitality, high-end hotels, sold wine, the whole thing, right? Like I've been through a lot of different business, met a lot of people. For the last 6 months, we went from 18 employees to 50. I run a $7 million company. And I feel like I've been in school for 15 years in 6 months, the amount of stuff that I've had to learn. And I told, like, my job's not even fun anymore. Like I spend all day dealing with lawyers, insurance people, and then the bad problems, right? But I love it so much because I get to impact the people that work for me and then their families in the community, right? So I'm not going anywhere. I could do this till I'm 99. So you can't beat me because
Yeah.
I'm not in it for the game. I'm not in it for the money. Like, yeah, we're going to make the money. I'm not worried about that. But because I'm in it because I truly love what I do, it's really hard to mess with me, right? But everybody gets into investing in business these days, I don't know if it's TikTok or whatever we're telling these people, and they're like, 6 months, I'm going to be making this. I'm like, dude, there's a lot of people that make 600 million right now, but it was 15 years of nothing, and then they're making it, right? And I think there too many people. My joke is too many people are investing to get out of something instead of it being something that they actually truly enjoy.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, you've got too many people that are tired of the corporate rung. I love this, how people are like, who made this 5-day week, 8 to 5? Like, this is shams, because that's not how we're supposed to operate. I'm like, okay, so what's your option? Run your own business and work 7 days a week and 10 hours a day? Like, I'm sorry, but what you have is cush. I'm like, don't
what
even
you
get
have
me
is great.
started.
And the thing is that we've entered this thing where it's like entrepreneurship. That's great. But like, it's the same thing I talked to my client this morning, like, hey man, it's all good and that's cool. And you can start your own business. But I was like, the person that you have to answer to, staring you back in the mirror every morning. And you don't have any, fail safe and insurance and all this stuff. Like, so like, I get it, but like, let's formulate a plan and let's see the plan through. And so you have confidence in the plan and then we can kind of make the leap. Right. So you say all that and you've said all that and now you're teaching, but then there's a crazy person in there that's now thinking about another business. Like, do you try to talk yourself out of it? Is it more in line with your current passions and that's why you're excited about it? Or like, do you go back and forth?
I go back and forth because I know that what I want to do probably isn't this high growth, high earning income. It would just be something that I really enjoy doing.
Okay.
And so then that's when you have to start looking at your life going, okay, what are my expectations? Where do I want to be in 5 or 10 years from now? Is making tons of money more important to me, or is just doing something that I truly just enjoy, helping other people? And that's where, as an entrepreneur, you get to choose. You get to decide where you want to be and what's important in life. And some people chase the money. Some people do it because they enjoy it. I enjoy so many things that it's hard for me to go, oh, but if I don't do this, then I'm not going to find anything else I enjoy, because there's a lot of things I enjoy and I really like pouring into businesses. But this is just something that personally, I know even if I don't start a business, I'm going to do it as a hobby and I'm going to do it, for my family, if all else. So either way.
So basically you're saying there's no talking to you. It's going to happen no matter what. It's just a matter of when, right?
Well, and I don't know if all entrepreneurs are this way or not, but I have this very need to know personality. Like I want to learn all the time. And so I'm going to learn about this, whether I make money off of it or not, but
So
because I want to know.
What aspect of it is exciting you the most right now? What is lighting you up the most?
Well, so really what I want to do is I want to follow kind of in this, like I told you, it's like a nutrition and wellness. And so I really want to learn about muscle testing and about nutrition in a deeper way, because for me, that's impacted my life and it impacts my
Okay. So here we're going to do it, Miss Fuller.
Yeah.
Now I'm the teacher and you're the student.
Let's do it.
Build me a business plan. How do we do it?
Exactly. So now I have to sit here and I have to go, okay, well, what does it look like? Am I going to have a brick and mortar? Is it going to be online? Once I
What's going to make you different, Miss Fuller, than every other? There's 2 million people out there doing the same
there
thing.
you go. That's just it. So I have a friend that does this and she's 2 hours away, and I go visit her all the time, and everybody where I'm at locally is like, well, where do you go? Well, I'm not driving 2 hours. And I'm going, okay, well, we have nothing like that around here. I have a very easy in-person presence, but you don't make money doing it in person because you are capped out with who you can reach. So, then you're seeing all these people who do it online and have this huge presence, but how do you compete with them? Because they're already so established. But a lot of them will also tell you, we're maxed out. Like, we have all we can take because there's so many people kind of moving into this direction that there is a large market share. So then it's going, okay, well, do I build my business to be online, or do I really want that people interaction? Do I really want to be in person and have some skin in the game, And that's where it's going, am I interested in making money, or am I interested in being in person and having that personal relationship with people? How do you balance those things? Because some people do both. They meet with local people 1 or 2 days a week, and then they will have people that they do online consultations with the rest of the week. And so there is a balance you can do, but it's at what point in time, like, you have to lay down, well, what are my expectations? Do I want to work 40 hours a week? Do I want to work 60 hours a week? Do I want to work 20 hours a week? Because most people don't realize, like, how you structure your business and how many hours that you're planning on working is something that you have to factor in. And so you find this balance of hours and pay and what your family lives look like. And now there is this good thing where you can invest a lot of time up front so that you can get to the point where you have more time off later, but you have to plan for that. And most people don't. They don't plan at all. And that's the scary part.
100%. I mean, I have one, this is a different situation for the current, 2-3 years, but I have, a thing that I live my whole life by, which is location independent. Like, it's my core value. It's something I care about. We travel a bunch, and we did the last 2 years. It's something that's very important to me. So me personally, I'm not a big fan of brick and mortar, and that's me. But the way that an online business sets up is that I do all my coaching on 1 day a week. And so the rest of the week is allowed me to build my businesses, right? And so that works for me, but it also took me, 2, 3, 4 years to get there. And then once I did, I said to myself, well, could you stop taking meetings on Friday? And I was like, yeah, you could do that. And then I started going, oh, like, you really do have control of your own schedule. But it's like, you have to switch from like scarcity to abundance and realize that, like, when I first started the podcast, like, I got this like really big guy on the podcast, and I was like, oh, I'm only doing Wednesdays. And I was like, oh my God, he's not going to be okay with that time and blah, blah, blah. And he just booked on Wednesday. And it's like, we've become the society. It's my joke. You go to Starbucks, you get asked what 20 milks you want. Like, if you give people less options and you're clear about your vision of your business and what you're doing, people will pick. They like the simple option. And I think we've made business way too complicated recently in days.
Oh yes, you cannot give people options. It's my biggest pet peeve. I'm like, you guys, if you just leave it wide open, then they're going to pick something that doesn't work. I'm like, you give them 1 or 2 options and let them pick. And if it doesn't work for them, then tap. Like, that's the way it goes.
How did you run a business and be a mom and take care of your kids? Like, how did you fit it all in? It's probably the number one question I get.
Yeah. So when I started my business, I had a 2.5-year-old and I had a 6-month-old. And I'd kind of set my schedule to where we were only open a handful of days a week. And I hired just enough employees to kind of help with the storefront, and it was fine. And we grew it from there. But I had a space for my kids where they could hang out and play, and they could come check in with me. And it worked out really well. Then they started going to school and being school age, which I thought was great. And so this past year, my youngest child finally went to pre-K, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, they're finally all in school and they're not here, but they'd come in the afternoons. And I think the kick in the pants for me was one night I had told my oldest, I said, we're going to be here till about 5 o'clock. And she said, okay, Mom. And she popped her head in about 5:15. She goes, Mom, you said 5 o'clock and it's 5:15. And I was like, in this manic mode of like, I have to get all this stuff done before we leave. And I said, I know, honey. I said, I know that I told you 5 o'clock. I was like, but you have to recognize that right now, what I have to complete to keep this business operational and running is more important than us leaving at 5 o'clock. I was like, we're going to be here for another hour. And I'm sorry, but that is what it is. And she was just, ducked her head and left, disappointment, same story another day. And in that moment, it hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, like, am I telling my children that my business is more important than them? Or am I instilling in them a good work ethic? And are they seeing that sometimes things don't go to plan and you have to take care of business and there is no just walking out because it's 5 o'clock? And so as the mom, you start having that mom guilt going, oh my gosh, like what time am I leaving for my kids? Because here I always said, once my kids got to be school age, it would be so much easier because they could go to school. And then all it turned into, well, now we have extracurricular activities and now we have, concerts and games and things that we had to go to. And I'm sitting here going, I don't know if I can go. I have no idea if I can go because somebody calls in or, we get swamped or whatever. And I started going, geez, here I thought this would be the best of both worlds of being able to mom my kids and run a business. And it's turned into, the older they get, the harder it's getting. And am I being the mom I want to be? And the answer was no, I didn't have enough time for my kids. So I had to kind of step back and reevaluate and go, is this really what I want?
So back to that question, were you showing them a work ethic or were you doing the other one? Did you ever answer it?
So all my kids are very different. My younger two would go, man, mom's working hard. My oldest one felt neglected. And then that's where it hit me. And I just had to go, you know what? Maybe we need to reevaluate because either I haven't structured things properly in my business to allow me to be there for them, or maybe because my heart's not in it and I just haven't given it what it needed to be to stand on its own. I needed to step away because my heart was never going to be in it. And that was the challenge for me because I looked at it and I went, my heart hasn't been in this for 3 years. And because it hasn't been in it, I haven't taken the steps needed to structure it properly. And my kids were suffering for it. And I just thought, okay.
Wow. You're an inspiration to be self-aware enough to look at it, address it, deal with it. And that's all we really need in life. So it's an amazing that you didn't let your ego drive the decision. You chose to let your heart make the decision. And so I have mad respect for that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I knew for years, and that's why I went back to school to get my doctorate so that I could teach at the university level. I knew if I was going to teach, I wanted to inspire future entrepreneurs. And you can only do that at the college level. And in order to teach, you have to have a doctorate. So at least in any larger institutions. And so I went back to school. I was juggling school and my kids and my business. And it was a lot. And they all knew it was very short term and that it was going to set us up to be in a better place. So knowing that I was going back to school, I just had to look at my kids and go, you know what? I can teach and this business can go and I can structure one that my heart is in, that I can make sure that it fits us. And that's where I'm like, that's where you have to know what your expectations are and what you really want out of life.
And you're going to be super successful in anything you do. I just know that. So that's awesome.
Well, thanks.
So if people want to reach out to you, they want to follow your journey, how would they do that?
Oh man. So now I'm like closing down all my business stuff. So it's like a little bit harder to find me. I'm definitely on Instagram. It's just under my personal name. It's Lauran and my middle name is Michael. So it's spelled Lauran and then Mychal. So that's my handle at Lauran Michael on Instagram is probably my favorite place to be.
Guys, if you're listening to this conversation and you're in a season of where you've maybe been hanging on to something longer than you need to, I hope this story inspires you to be able to start anew adventure, a new energy. That's what I got from it. So I hope you take that to heart and maybe put down the stuff you've been bearing and restart a new adventure. So I hope everybody got some value from this and we'll see you next time.